Good morning. I want you to know something. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, oh my God, it's time for the show. You're right. Today I'm going to rock your world. We have Robert Raymond Riopel on, and we are going to rock your world. But first, it's time to listen to the music. See you in a minute. Welcome. You're on the Success Secrets for Business, Family, and Life channel. I'm Vicki Helm. I have my cup of coffee, and I am so excited today. We are going to have so much fun. I want to let you know, Robert and I have already been talking before the show, and it is going to be such an incredible fun time today. I just want to welcome you to the Coffee Break Show today.
I'm gonna be serious for this show because I don't have fun at all, Vicky. Ever have fun? Oh my goodness! I am so ready to have fun because even the instant connection you and I have had and realizing we know each other from the past, I'm ready to just blast out some great information for your listeners and viewers.
Oh my God, I'm so excited. I want to let you know I see you guys coming on. And for those of you who are listening outside and you are driving in your car and you're thinking, okay, it's iHeartRadio. If you're listening on Apple, Spotify, Pandora, Amazon, wherever you are, get your cup of coffee because today we're going to have a really unique conversation. We're going to talk about the four currencies of life. And I'm going to get really deep into that. We are just going to go ahead and do that. But I want to tell you about Robert. Robert was a bank robber at one point in time. Just kidding. Okay, I'm playing with him. He's an entrepreneur, app developer. He's a speaker, best-selling author. This guy has got it going on. His resume is really long. And today, we're not only going to be talking about, the secrets to success, but also the four currencies of life that are going to help you achieve more happiness, more quality of life. And I just want to begin the conversation by asking you how it is that you even got to the point where I know you've spoken on stages all over the world. We just talked about that as well. But let's talk about your four loves, which I'm assuming there is going to be sharing of knowledge is one love, and helping people is another love. But I want them to meet you and have you say a little bit about yourself in such a way that they get a sense of your sense of humor and things like that.
Well, I am short, but I'm not short. I'm actually more grounded. It's the way I like to look at it.
I
And
love that. I'm using that from now on.
right, and one of my good friends and student, who's aerodynamic like me, he says I'm not bald, but I do walk 20% faster than most people because I don't have wind resistance. And so I love animals. I am an absolute lover of animals, and my number one love in my life is my wife
All
because I would not be
right.
here today if it wasn't for her. Left to my own devices, I'd be in a job miserable but comfortable. And I'll say that
Mm,
again, miserable but comfortable. But my
yeah.
wife's not willing to let me play a smaller game than and be smaller than who I am. And so sometimes that means kicking me in the ass and saying, step up. And it's a gift she gives me. And I know some people might go, that doesn't sound like a gift, but it is. Even when I'm resistant, she sees things in me I don't see in myself. And it's a gift I give her as well. And so for your audience to understand, my wife and I, we actually met when we were 13. We started dating when we
Whoa.
were 16. We got married when we were 19, and we just celebrated our 32nd wedding anniversary this past June.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Right now, doesn't that seem like every woman in the entire audience is swooning? Oh, he loves his wife. They've been together. There were high school, there were childhood sweethearts. I mean, childhood sweethearts.
Well, I'm
That's
still childhood sweethearts because I'm not ever growing up. So I'm still a child. Let's be clear about that.
Yeah, so I want to talk about I want to talk and everybody's like congratulations. Yeah, thank you. I
Oh,
think that
thank you.
and I want to say that, my better half is here already yelling good morning to everybody as we pop on. Nice to see you popping on. Thank you for being here. I want to talk about and for everybody who's listening right now, um I want to let you know that part of the conversation is talking about the four currencies of life. And to me, the reason this is such an important conversation is because Most people only see currency as money.
Yes.
And what we have is we lose so much opportunity. We leave so much money on the table by not understanding what currency actually is. So before we start with the currencies of life, let's just start with your definition of what currency is.
Well, for me, currency, and I'm going to give you the four currencies because I believe we are definitely holistic people. And
Yep.
there's the mental, the emotional, the spiritual, the physical, and the financial. You've got to
Mhm.
cover all of those areas because the one you don't is the one that's going to take you out. And so when we talk about the four currencies, the first one is the obvious one. It's the one about money, the currency of money. But what people don't realize is that there is what I call a zone. A zone. Too much money in your life is called affluenza. And when you have affluenza, you know you're there because you're doing stupid things with your money. You
Yeah.
know, you're making investments without checking or doing your due diligence and then getting upset when you lose it. Or you're buying things you really don't want or need, but because you have so much money, you're doing it. I'll give you a great example of that. Years ago, there was one of the princes in UAE when the A380 airplane came out, you know, the two-level airplane. I read an article where he decided he wanted to own his own private A380. So he spent $1 billion buying one. And then he spent another 100 million plus renovating it the way he wanted it to be his party plane. And I don't know about you, Vicky, but I can think of a lot better things to do with $1.1 billion. But see, when you have your affluenza level, and I'll explain this in a moment, when you reach it or you go over it, you'll know you're there because you're doing silly things with your money. So too much
Yeah.
money is called affluenza. Too little money is called poverty. And we
Yeah.
all have a poverty level. And so everybody's zone is different. If you're in that zone, your life flows. But if you're below or above, that's when you notice things kind of go out of whack. So when I was a Domino's pizza franchisee a whole lifetime ago, my poverty level was about 40,000 a year. If my wife and I were making less than $40,000 a year, the stress was there. How are we paying the bills? Oh my God, what are we going to
Sure.
do? Okay. Our affluenza level was about 100,000 a year. Anytime we'd get around there, we started doing the crazy things, the investments that we weren't paying attention to. And so now today, though, because what I've done is, I've grown, I have a nicer lifestyle. I love my lifestyle. So today, my poverty level is about 200,000. And I know people might be going, oh, that doesn't sound like poverty. But because of the lifestyle I choose to have, and listen to those words, I
Yep.
choose to have, I have responsibilities. And so if I'm making less than 200,000 a year, I get stressed. And
Mhm.
look, I don't know about your listeners, but to me, when I've gone through the financial stress, that's one of the worst stresses I've ever been
Oh, it
through.
so is.
It,
That's like the nightmare stress.
it is, it is. And so that's my lower part of my level. My affluenza level is about 1 million a year. Anytime I get close to that or I top over that, that's when I again start doing crazy things. So depending on who you are, how you grow yourself, your journey in life, your levels will flow and you'll have everybody has their own levels in different times in their life. So that's the currency of money. And understand that money is a tool. Money's not
Yes.
everything. It's just one of the currencies that are out there. But interesting enough, it's the currency that most people get locked into and they think it's the most important thing. And
It's
I'm going to say it
true.
like this. It's like, money's not that important. It's having that balance in life. And imagine this, if you will. Imagine being able to have a life you're passionate about. And because you're living your passion, money becomes a beautiful side effect.
It is.
See,
That's the
that's
way to live right there.
yes.
That
Yeah.
is the I have to admit that's the newest learning for me. Money is a side effect. And what's interesting about what you just said was there is this nobody ever examines where their flow is, where their top and where their bottom is. Where's the flow of that? Where does that come in? What's so interesting about what you said was that seems to be a personal kind of gauge, a personal
It
gauge.
is.
And I
Yes.
remember like umpty years ago when I realized somehow that I could mold or create my reality, that I could create whatever reality I wanted to experience. I didn't have to become it. I wasn't attached to the outcome, etc. And I remember thinking to myself, well, I already know what poverty is like because that's kind of what I grew up in with my
Hmm.
dad, a lot of poverty, and he worked a job, etc. And I want to experience what it's like to be filthy rich, like just so
Hmm.
rich. What does that feel like? And then I just as you said that, I remember when the pendulum swang the other day or the other way, and you were talking about affluenza. And I remember thinking to myself, some somehow we think wealth or currency is the ability to materialistically do what we want, indulge when we want, buy what we want, have what we want, when we want, how we want it, wherever we want it. We think somehow that indulgence is wealth. And that's what
Right.
I got caught in. That indulgence is wealth. That's
Keeping up with
so
the
not true.
Joneses.
That's
Keeping up
right.
with the Joneses.
And
Right.
I
Absolutely.
remember the day that I realized that keeping up with the Joneses never made me happy. And then all of a
Nope.
sudden I had a bunch of stuff I didn't want. And then I got really clear. What do you want, Vicky? What's the lifestyle you want? And
Yes.
that freedom, most people think that it takes at least $1 million to have this lifestyle, but it doesn't. You can be somewhere between 200 and I'd say 400,000 and live like a king forever.
Yes.
It's just that what's your comfort level? I loved that piece that you just shared. That was so important.
And that's it. And this is where, if you understand it, when people think, because they go to trainings or whatever, we're saying, create wealth, create wealth, create
Mhm.
wealth. And then they bust their butts. They go through a lot of stress and turmoil to achieve that goal and then find out, oh, I'm here. Why am I not happy?
Yeah.
Is because they've gone over their affluenza level. And so they're not in their zone. And so that's why
God, that's
I
so
have family
great.
members that they love that they live in a mobile home park. Their mobile home is paid for. They love back road camping. We go out into Crown Land all the time. They love being able to have a side by side and a quad, and we just disconnect to reconnect. And they're like, as long as I have enough money to live this kind of lifestyle, I have
They're
less
happy.
stress, I'm
Yeah.
happy, and I'm
Wow.
fulfilled. That's the key. That's the key
Mhm.
right there. So, yeah, your first
Love it.
currency is the currency of money.
Great. So let's go into the others. I don't care in what particular order you do them in.
Yeah.
I just think this is so important to understand where your flow is. Wouldn't it be important for you to know what the currencies are? All of the currencies.
Yeah. Well, the second currency is the one we all have this exact same amount of, which is time.
Yeah.
Your time is one of the most valuable commodities you have. Too
Mhm.
much time on your hand is boredom.
Yep.
And I'm still trying to figure this out, Vicky, how when this whole world changed back in March of 2020, it blew me away how many people I heard going, I'm bored.
I
And
know.
I'm
I'm
like,
like, hello. Is that
I,
really true?
yeah, I went from flying 200,000 miles a year around the world to zero. And
Yeah.
I'm at home and I'm busier than when I was flying around the world. And I'm going,
I know.
how can you be bored? So, too much time on your hand, boredom. And I'm like, come on over to my place. I'll put you to work. Oh, wait, we can't. You're not allowed here. Too little time on your hand is stress. And
Yeah.
so, what I've discovered though in my research around this currency is people, the reason they're stressed, and you've heard it. Vicky, I've got a family, I've got a business, I'm really busy, I don't have time. And you're
Yeah.
right, boredom is a choice. And so what I've researched and realized is people are really good at being busy, but they're not necessarily productive. And there
Ooh,
is a
that's so
huge
true.
difference. Huge difference. And look, you and I are writers. I'm writing my second book right now. And so I could sit there and
Congratulations.
go, I'm coming to my office and I'm going to write my book. 8 hours later, I can be done and going, man, was I busy? And I look back, I go, oh, but what was I really doing? I don't seem to have got a lot done on the book. And if I look at my time, I look at it and I sit there and I go, oh, I was on Facebook and other social media. I was instant messaging. And I wrote a little bit of the book. Oops. So one of the things I do on my calendar, and I live by my calendar nowadays.
Me too.
And I'm going to tell you the first thing that goes on my calendar for my wife and I, and I'm going to give a little hint, a little clue, hence why my book is called Success Left a Clue, is the first thing that goes on our calendar before anything else. And this is around your time. You've heard the wealth rule number one, Vicky, which is pay yourself first, correct?
Absolutely. Yes.
Right. And that's wealth rule number one. So my question is, if you're going to do that with your money, why wouldn't you
You
do that
do
with your
the
time?
time.
So the first thing we put on our calendar is what we call our balance pieces, our pamper pieces. time for each other, just as important, time for ourselves. And so we put those on the calendar before anything else. Health, fitness, whatever it is that we want to do to take care of us, because you cannot give what you don't have. And I learned this the hard way. When I started training, my first 4.5 years, I was training so much. I was only at home on average 2 days a month. And I was overliving my passion. I got burnt out. I got
Mm,
burnt out because I wasn't taking care of me. So how could I give fully to my audience when I didn't take
mm.
care of me? So when
Yes.
I ended up taking 3.5 years off because I got burnt out. And I went through 2 back surgeries because I wasn't taking care of myself on the stage. So when I came out of
God, it's so
retirement,
great to hear. I just need to
oh,
interrupt you for a
thanks.
second. That that
Robert,
was
glad
that
you went through
was
2 back
something
surgeries.
that was no, not the back surgeries. I'm
I
sorry
know.
you went through that. But I remember in 2018, 2017, 18, 19, I was on the road more than I was home. And I remember being exhausted. I know a lot of people think that being a speaker and you're traveling around the world, it sounds sexy. It sounds like,
Mhm.
oh my God, that's the best life ever. And at the same time, putting in that rest place, because I remember getting burnt out and saying to myself, I want a year where I don't have to travel. And I didn't say, but please don't make it a pandemic, but
Right.
I remember when all of the speaking gigs got canceled because of the lockdown, and I felt relief. I didn't feel like, oh, I felt relief. And I want to thank you for that, because I know how much you travel. I know that's around. I know that's like, and somehow it just gave me permission personally, even the just the show host, to just go, whew,
Yes.
that landing. I feel more grounded.
Yeah, and that is your time is so critical. So,
Yeah.
there's 2 things with your time. You've got to get creative,
Mm-hmm.
and you've got to be willing to be selfish. Because one of the
Absolutely
things that
have
blocks
boundaries
people,
around it.
that's
Yeah.
right. They're like, Robert, I can't take time for myself. What will other people think of me? And get rid of that thought. And when I say being selfish, it doesn't have to be like, okay, I'm taking a week and I'm disappearing and going on a holiday. Screw everybody else. I'm out of here. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying it could be something as simple as taking 30 minutes and going for a walk. For my
Yeah.
back, I love going for walks. And when I'm on my walk, that's when I get more present, connected, and download. And so I give myself permission. People would ask me, Vicky, they go, Robert, you're traveling all over the world, mainly overseas. Why are you willing to go on these 12-hour flights, 16-hour flights? Part of it is because I love meeting other cultures and helping
Me
people.
too.
But the other part is the moment I step on that plane and I sit in my seat, Vicky, that's my time. That's my
Love
time.
that. Yeah.
I don't do business. I don't connect to internet. I read because I love to read.
Read a book. I always do
I
that too.
I watch movies because I love watching movies. I get a little sleep. I eat some great food and I drink some great wine because I know the
Beautiful.
moment I land for the next 3 to 5 days, I'm on stage for up to 12 hours a
Yep.
day. So
Yeah.
if I'm not rejuvenating me, how can I be there fully for my audience and for my students to help them? So your time, the first thing you put on there is put those pamper pieces. The second thing I put on my
Hamper
calendar,
pieces. Love it.
that's it, pamper pieces. Second thing I put on my calendar is focused time.
Mm-hmm.
So
Oh,
going back to
yes.
my book, research has shown that you can only really stay truly focused on something for about an hour. So I'll put in and I'll do
Mm.
hour long, little chunks. I'll say 10 to 11 writing book. Now when I come to my office, that's the only thing I'm doing is writing that book for that hour. And in 1 hour of being
That's right.
productive,
Mm-hmm.
now here's the cool thing, and if your audience is really listening, listen to this, okay? In an hour of being productive is the same as about 6 hours of being busy. So all of a sudden, if you get more productive, you free up a lot more time where you can now have the time to take care of you, be with family. I'm a huge believer. People go to go for success, your family's going to pay the price. Only if you believe that. Only if you believe that. I like to be able to have that time with my family. And that's
Scheduled time.
critical. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's why I use my calendar the way I do. So that my time, the currency of time, is appreciated and utilized. And there is days, I'll tell you, I have what's called freedom days, where
Oh, love
the
it.
the rule was as an example, if I was coming home from overseas, the first 2 days at home, freedom days. If we don't want to get out of bed, we don't get out of bed. There's no
Love it.
meetings. There's no business. It's if we want to sit and watch TV all day and binge watch a series, done. Because that's how I learned that's what is important. I choose not to go through a back surgery ever again. So
Yeah.
I'm very conscious on taking care of myself. So that's
That's
second
so
currency.
that's so important what you just said, because I live and die by my calendar right now. And some of the times that I book in, I'm really super precious with it. But the productivity piece is one of the things that I find for myself, because he writes books and I write books. We write books for a living. So when you get to the point where you're creating your productivity time, really focusing on that, I always have managed and protect my most creative hours. So for me,
Yes.
when I roll out of bed in the morning, my most creative hours are those morning hours until about somewhere between 11 and 1. And then I do all the mundane stuff, etc. But I always get the second wave of creativity that happens after 8 p.m. at night, when everybody's chilled out and all of a sudden the creativity happens. I'm trying to remember the name of this CEO. It's a woman. I can't remember her name, but I used her productivity tack when every single day I have alone time, so that I'm alone with my thoughts and I allow that field of possibilities to give
Yes.
me and download for me.
Yes.
I make notes, I do everything else. I text people like, "Hey, what about this? How about if we add this? What do we do with that?" Somehow when you manage time in that space, to me, there is time which is productive time, and there's also what I call divine time. And that
Yes.
divine time is allowing that other piece through you that feels intuitive or creative, but it's actually you joining and aligning that time there, so it helps my business run better for
It
me.
does.
I
Yeah.
really
When
love
you are
that piece of,
present.
yeah,
Yeah. When you're
it's like
present, that's the
time is,
greatest download comes through you.
oh gosh, yeah, I love it. I absolutely love that. And I love that feeling when I'm in that zone, that writing zone that I know,
Mm-hmm.
where it's flowing out of you and it's just like, oh God, that's magic for me. I love it.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
then one of the keys and one of my clues in my first book, Success Left a Clue, is write it down. So when I'm
Hmm.
walking, because that's where some of my most creative time is, my phone's with me, and
Yeah.
probably the most used app on my phone is my notes. Because
Beautiful.
I don't try and wait and remember. Because how many times have you done that? Oh, what? That's
Yeah.
brilliant. I have to
Oh,
remember
I've
that.
screwed
10 seconds
myself
later,
so
you're
many
like,
times.
yes. So I don't even hesitate. I pull the phone out, I stop, and I write it down, or I voice record it, and then I start walking again, because now I've let it go and I can then come back to it. When I did my podcast, I did like 104 episodes over a couple of years, and 100 of them were just me talking. I'd be in a hotel in Thailand or India or somewhere around the world, and I would sit there and look at my notes. Oh yeah, these were things I wanted to talk about, and I would knock off 3-4 podcasts, 5 to 10 minutes long each, just me downloading. And the reason I would do it that way too is because now I'm repurposing all that information. What do you think's making my second and third book? Hello.
I know. I love it. I love it.
I'm going to do my Forrest Gump. I'm not a smart man.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to use every faculty I have to not have to work as hard at it. And
That's
so write it
beautiful.
down and watch what happens.
So for all of you that are looking, we put his book, Robert's book, his right now the link is in there in the thread. So if you're driving, you don't have to stop and try to write it down. Success Left Clue, Achieving Repeatable, and then it's an ebook is what we have right up, and it must be success or repeatable, whatever it is. I know that the dash ebook is just part of it. It is in the show notes today. You can go ahead and take a look at the show notes. So if
And
you're on wherever you are
Vicky,
listening, just keep driving safe.
yeah, and
So
let's make it easy for people, because you've been so gracious to have me on your podcast and interviewing me. If they just go to robertriopel.com, they can actually download the entire digital copy of Success Left a Clue as our gift to them for taking their time to listen. They
will
don't
you
have to
put
go.
that up there, please, Robin? The guy, we are trying to make him a buck, but he wants to be nice and give us something just for the
Oh,
joy of it. Love it.
yeah, but there is a caveat. There is a caveat. See, I didn't write the book for people to read it and put it on the shelf and make it shelf help. That's not why I wrote it.
Shelf help.
Oh, good, you got my joke. The reason I
I
wrote
love
it
that.
is step number 3 is take action. In all my
Mhm.
travels around the world, the biggest difference between success and non-success is successful people take action. So I wrote it as a workbook with action steps all the way through. And it even says,
Beautiful.
if, and I'll say right in the book, did you do the last action? If not, stop reading right now. Go back, do the action before you continue reading, because I know people are creatures of habit.
That's where the big breakthrough is. One of the biggest things that I know about myself that I stop myself from doing, and I just want to be point blank. You grow at every level, grow, 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 grow. One of the things that I found myself doing was when I got to the point where I didn't know what my next move was, my mind would pivot left or right. So to have that breakthrough, if you're at that action place and you're like, I don't know what my next move is, first stop telling yourself, I don't know where my next move is. And then ask yourself right then, what is my next move from now? What's the next
Yes.
best thing I can do? That's the action key piece that he's saying. So if you get to that book and you're like, I'm not going to leave it as shelf help. I'm going to get it down here and I'm going to put it into action. I need these 4 currencies. And we're up to number 3. Is this the number 3 is take action?
No,
So we
that's
have
number 3 in my first book. So
okay, so let's
for the
go
four currencies,
with
yes.
the yes, because we have time and money. We got
Yep.
that. And now number 3 is
The currency of fame. Now,
ooh,
especially with
currency of
social media,
fame.
yeah, you've seen fame ruin people's lives.
Yep.
But yet there's fame that other people seem to handle it. So what's
Mhm.
the difference? And so, especially in today's instant society of social media, everybody wants their TikTok to go viral. They want their Facebook Live to go viral. And they think they're ready for the fame. But then they wonder why, if it does come, why does it all of a sudden you see addictions, drug addictions, alcohol addictions,
Mhm.
people burn and crash? Is because you've got to be able to handle the fame. And I'm going to go to an interview that I heard years ago that was done with Jennifer Lopez. And I love what she said. Yeah, Sean, some people think fame equals status, but again, careful what you ask for, right? And so what people notice, or what she said, is the person's like, J-Lo, you're a powerhouse. You're an amazing actress, a singer, a businesswoman, but you're also a powerhouse in family. Family's important to you. How do you keep the balance and not implode? And she said, well, I'm just me. I'm just Jennifer Lopez. But when I'm doing business and I'm singing that, I'm J-Lo. That's
That's
my
right.
persona. When
That's
I'm
right.
home, I'm just Jennifer.
Yeah.
And that one hit me, Vicky, because it's like when I'm traveling around the world and I'm in front of thousands of people, I'm Robert Raymond Riopel. That's my brand, but I'm me. I'm still aerodynamic. I'm still more grounded. I'm still have bad jokes. That's me. And I have staff taking care of everything, but I'm me on stage. When I come home to friends and family, I'm Robert.
Yeah.
And my wife and I have a running joke. I'll come home from doing travel around the world and she'll go, honey, you're home now. No more assistance. Go and take out the garbage. And I love it because it keeps me grounded. Like, could you imagine this weekend is our Canadian Thanksgiving?
Yeah.
We're going to have family over. And we're going to have a fire in our backyard and we're going to sit around the fire. Could you imagine me sitting there going, don't you guys know who I am? I'm Robert Raymond Riopel. Go get me a beer. They would thump me really quick and clue me in that I'm not all that. You're just our brother-in-law, our little brother. That's who you are. That's who you will always be. And I'm okay with that because I can
Yeah.
only be me. So
Yeah.
when it comes to fame, be you. I believe the greatest gift you can give the world is to be who you are. And people are either going to like you or they're not. And if they like you for who you are, that's awesome. If they don't like you for who you are, that's awesome. Because when it comes to fame, the people that crash are the ones that try to be something different to
Mhm.
maintain that fame. And ladies and gentlemen, fame isn't all it's cracked up to be. So be careful what you wish for. Because with fame, you have to give up some rights.
That's
And
true.
so is it something you truly want?
That's so true. I
So
mean,
Madison.
I think this is so important what you're saying. For me, the way I handle, and I don't think I wouldn't call it fame, but I would call it some notoriety and things like that. The way I handle that is I am constantly, and I feel in my soul, absolutely the deepest part of me, that I am in service to the divine, and my goal
Yes,
is to be in service. And when I'm in service, my job is to surrender to what's here now and not try to create the any kind of persona. And that surrendering to what is here now, that's a lot of work sometimes.
it is.
Yeah,
I
I
actually
just
talk
want.
about that with my 4 phases of life, and the I use the acronym OPEN, and then I use the word opens because the S at the end is for surrendering. Because when people
Yes,
think they have control, that's got to be the biggest cosmic joke out there.
I know,
You don't
right?
have control. The only thing you have control is how you respond to what's going on. That you can control. But if
And
you
see,
think you can control things, whew,
that's a beautiful thing that you just said, because I think surrender helps me create presence. Like
yes,
I want to be here. I want to express that moment with that divinity. When you're in service in that way, there's no room for your own ego. There's only room
exactly.
for your own development, your own love, your own soul. Anytime
But
I can be that,
yes,
that's when I'm happiest. That's when
can
that's authenticity all the time.
yeah, and can we go a little deeper because you mentioned ego?
Absolutely.
Okay, because on ego, people go, okay, you're right. Ego has no space. I'm going to just put my ego aside. And then they wonder why they self sabotage. Because I want everybody to understand we all have ego. I do
That's
not
right.
care who you are. The
Everyone.
key is, the key is how do you let your ego play? If
That's
you can
right.
come up with a way to allow your ego to play in a healthy, safe way. So, like when I'm on stage, for me, no doubt, no way, there's no room for ego. I'm there to be of service, as you're saying, to my audience, to be
That's right.
present with them, to be
Mhm.
authentic with them. But I know if I don't let my ego play, it's going to come out when I'm on
Yep.
stage. So I've learned over the years that for me, the way I let my ego play, one of the ways, video games. If I'm playing a video game, and if Vicky, if you and I are playing a game, you're going down because I'm going to be full on in ego. I'm going to have fun, and I'm going to let you know there's no prisoners on this game because that allows my ego to play in a healthy way, so that when I'm now of service to my students, I
Yep.
can be there with them.
I have that. Mine is mountain biking.
Oh,
When
nice.
when the terrain gets really rough, I'm going to smoke you through it, just but yeah, I get that. And I'm super aware of me. There is like a competitive thing too, where,
Mhm.
I want to have the best product, the best team, the best sales, the best, the best. I do have that. Part of it is professionalism, but there's part of me that loves to play the game full on, full out. You know what I mean? I
Yeah,
mean, it's like
absolutely.
whatever you're gonna do, let's make it the best show, the best this, the best that.
And that
But
becomes of service because
yeah.
you're doing that so your audience gets the best, which
Mhm.
is awesome. What a win-win situation.
I know, I love it. That so to me, we're going through the three currencies. I want to jump into currency number 4 because I'm like,
Yes.
oh my gosh, this is so Vicky competitive. Now I know this is my better half. Vicky, competitive? What?
What?
Yeah.
Love
But
it.
you're right, because we can't demonize the ego. We have to
No,
befriend it, because that way it
it's
can
part
have
of
its
you.
healthy outlet
That's
without
right.
you being, without you believing it. You can
Right.
command it, let it out to play, and then put it back
Yeah.
away.
One of the biggest
That
sabotages,
was a
self
great
sabotages for
point.
people is that they try to ignore their ego. I don't have it. And so they suppress it. And
Mhm,
it comes up with force and then they suppress
mhm.
it harder. And all of a sudden, this big tug of war, and you wonder why you're tired. When it finally comes out, it comes out in a weird way. And people are like, what an egomaniac. Right. So it is. Acknowledge you have it, play safe. Currency number 4 is the one I really focus on in my life today. And that is the currency of experience. See,
Mm.
in this life, how many people are going, I want to be rich, I want to be rich,
Yeah.
but they're forgetting to experience the here and now.
Oh
And so if they
God.
ever attain it, they look back and they go, oh, the last 8 years, what did I really do? Why did my family leave me? Why are they pissed off at me? So every moment of my day, I'm working on being present and experiencing. Like right now, I'm in my new building. And you talk about having to redirect, you talk about having to reinvent. On March 10th, I landed back in Canada from India from doing a 3-day training. March 11th of 2020, I went into lockdown. all my live events, as you had mentioned, all my live events were canceled instantly around the world.
Yep.
All of a sudden, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars in revenue gone because all my live trainings are canceled. And I had a choice. I could have gone, oh my God, and gone into the victim role, which I did for a couple of weeks. I did. I'm no different than anybody else. But then my wife and I asked two very powerful words, and you had said them earlier, and I didn't have a chance to notice that or point out you'd said them. But those two powerful words are what's next. When you talked about getting stuck with action. And we have a beautiful acreage we bought 3 years ago that the reason we bought it was in 5 or 6 years, we wanted to build our own training center. So students can come to us instead of me traveling.
Brilliant idea. You know, I've been toying with that with a friend as we speak. Smart.
Yeah.
Smart us.
Well, it was going to be 5 or 6 years from now. But when we asked that question, my wife and I are like, well, you know, you're home now. You have the time. Let's build it now. But then, of course, fear came in. But all of our revenue's gone. We don't know how long this is going to last. It's going to be a big expenditure. And the other two words we use are all in. We went, you know what? We're all in. And so September 26th of last year, we signed the paperwork.
Congratulations.
And we put things in place. December 12th, we broke ground. A month ago, I started finally moving in. They're still putting the finishing touches. But on the other side of my wall here, I've now got my office and 1,500 square foot training center. Nice. Now, of course, it sounds exciting. People are like, awesome. But in Alberta, we just got put into our 4th wave of lockdown. We're in a medical state of emergency. So I can't run experiential masterminds here. I can't run small trainings. So what's next? In the next month and a half, I'm building out a super Zoom room. I'm going to have like 10 monitors so that I can be seeing 300, 400 students. I'm going to have a monitor for chat. I'm going to have multiple cameras. I'm going to turn it into a super Zoom room so I can teach my audiences. Plus, I can also rent it out to people who are going, I don't have a Zoom room. I'd love to have an experience like that to be able to teach. So I'm always looking at how do we make sure it works, or versus playing the victim and going, why me? And so that experience of life, that currency, don't just like, I'm a big believer in vision boards. And one of my friends taught me something.
Right there.
Perfect. And one of the things he does with his coaching clients is he'll say, let's do a vision board. And then he'll go through it with them. And one of his clients, he said, I noticed you have this Lamborghini. Why do you want a Lamborghini? And the guy could rattle off everything, every spec, why they're the most amazing cars. And he then asked him a powerful question. Have you ever experienced riding in one? And he's like, well, not yet. I can't afford it. He goes, okay, stop. Before our next call next week, I want you to either go test drive one, even though you can't afford it, or rent one for a day and experience it. So the next week they get on the call and he said, and he goes, yep, I got it done. And he goes, and I don't want a Lamborghini anymore. And he goes, why? He goes, because I'm 6'2", getting in and out of the damn thing was painful. Wow. See, but what do most people do? They put something on their vision board because they think they want it.
That's right.
And when they get it, all of a sudden it's not what they thought it was. And then they're stuck with it. Fame, everything else. So experience in the moment. If your being says, I really want this, then find a way and go and experience it to see if it's what you truly want. And it's the same way when I say I'm all about experiences. I love running high-end masterminds, but it's not just a mastermind. We're going to put an experience to it. So last January, pre-COVID, I had 8 students meet me in Florida. We hopped on a private jet. We flew to Bahamas, had a full police escort with 2 Rolls Royces from the airport to the Sandals Resort. We masterminded all day long. Now we're connected because we're experiencing something very few people get to experience. So we created with the 8 people, every single one of us was able to create 7-figure new business from that day of masterminding. We flew back that night. And Vicky, I'd like to say I arranged this, but as we're coming over Florida, Kennedy Space Center launched a rocket. Ooh. And from the jet, we got to watch it from launch to atmosphere. What an experience.
Yeah.
So when we talk about the currency of experience.
That's one for the books right there.
Right.
Laying on your deathbed. There it is.
Right. What experiences can you create in your day-to-day life? Can you create the experience of that the next time I connect with my spouse, that I'm truly present with them and letting them know how much I love them, instead of like, hey, honey, I love you, and yet your mind was somewhere else. How many times did that happen? So to me, experience is the currency that I choose to put my most focus on. I want to experience life, the good, the bad, the ugly. I want to experience it all so that when it is on my deathbed, I don't look back going, what did I do? I look back and go, wow, I am so full and fulfilled.
I love I love what you're saying here, because to me this is like eventually you're going to be on your deathbed, and did you get to do everything you wanted? Did you get to live and be in, etc.? And one of the things about experiences, because I've achieved a few of my life goals by now that I wanted to do, and one of the things that I found out was that you can enjoy something and enjoy it and enjoy it and enjoy it, enjoy it. And you can outgrow an experience. You can
Mhm.
outgrow and then want to reshape, recreate a new experience. So I want to share with people that piece of it, because experiences aren't, well, this is what I dreamed of, so now I have to hold on to my dream. So it's like, if you have a want to live in a certain place, you can outgrow that, not because
Yes,
of anything bad. It's just like when you're a kid and you outgrow Barbies or you outgrow toys, or
that's
you
right.
just outgrow it. And the
Yes,
next beautiful thing you're allowed to do is create that other experience. So I
yes.
don't care how old you are. What he is saying right now, that is the thing. Are you still inhaling oxygen? Then there are experiences you can have, there are experiences you can create, and there's still, thank you, I do, this is it, this is right, hashtag deep insight,
Oh,
that's
thank you,
right.
MJ.
You want to be pursuing this. I like this here. Pursuing those experiences that brought the most joy is almost a guaranteed win every
Yes.
time. New experiences are a win. Some learn, some situations with no guarantees. I got to tell you, yes, life is an endless cycle. That's correct. Literally, even when you
Yeah.
think you're dead, life is still an endless
Well,
cycle.
something
You
I
just
read
stop
yesterday
being who
that is
you are now.
a great example of that. Something I read yesterday. Captain Kirk is actually going to space next week. He's actually going.
Doesn't that make sense? William
Right.
Shatner, get in it. I read that as well. Where did I
That
see
is
that?
so cool.
I
That has
know,
got to
it
be.
makes sense.
He changed our world with Star Trek, and he's
Yes.
never truly been to space. But now, because of advancements, even at his age, he's going to space. That's beautiful. That is like
Yeah.
awesome.
There is that, you can never outgrow experiences. Sometimes it's like when you get older, you think, okay, where do I want to retire? This is where I'm going to be. I got my lake house and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, don't believe your own mind. This is Sean. Thank you for this. Growth requires new experiences. Keep taking in new things to add your current inspiration focuses. You guys, this is so, yeah, look at this. Woohoo, I'm such a Trekkie. It's true. I know this. It is so true. Such a Trekkie.
Yeah.
Yep, this is, thank you for that. Yep. And I'm looking at these currencies that you have. And one of the things that I feel that is so important is that when you have these currencies under your belt as a way of life, as a practice, you're creating quality of life. And
Yes.
that's the quality of life that you're creating right now. I want to get to the point, like, let's say there's a listener driving now and they're listening on wherever they're listening, and you get to the point where you're talking to them and they're thinking, where do I begin? How do I begin the process of creating? Because I think people have just heard you are empowered enough to create your own quality of life. You don't have to let life happen to you. What if you created that? What are three things you would tell them to start? I mean, how do we start this process of taking a look at these four currencies and implementing them in such a way as to transform our experiences in our life?
Well, number one is I'm going to tell people be more gentle with yourself.
Mhm.
If how's that saying go? If we had a friend that treated us the way we treat ourselves, they wouldn't be our friend for very long. But we take it from
That's
ourselves.
so true.
So be more willing to have more power with yourself. Be more gentle with yourself. Then, second thing, surround yourself with, and listen to my words, growth-minded people. Growth-minded. And this was a paradigm shift for me last year, as an example. I used to believe surround yourself with like-minded people. That's a great way to have success. But then one of my mentors, because I always have mentors, and that'll be the third point, is one of my mentors. He said, Robert, if you're surrounded by like-minded people that are complainers, you're going to be a complainer. And I'm like, oh yeah. He said, so surround yourself with growth-minded people, because the difference between like-minded and growth-minded people, they will be there to pick you up when you stumble.
Amen.
They'll be there as your greatest cheering squad when you're doing well. But just as important, if not more important, they are also the ones that are willing to have the tough conversations with you when needed. So, and that really hit me, because that's my wife. She's like, when it's time to have the tough conversations and tell me to quit being a jerk, get my head out of my ass and step up, that's a tough conversation, because I'm, of course, open to everything. I never resist anything in my life, ever, especially coming from my family, right? And so those growth-minded people, if you surround them, I have a friend, the friend I want to introduce you to, Vicky, that I mentioned off air.
Yeah.
One of our agreements with each other is that if one of us has had something that's just bugging us and pissing us off, we can get a hold of the other person. We get on a call, and it's just like, if it's me that contacts him, I can just vent. His role is just sit there, be my sounding board, not take it personally, not have to answer, not have to fix everything, but just to let me get the energy out and vent. And when we're done, he goes, are you done? If I'm not, I keep going. And then he'll go, are you done? If I am, I'm like, done. Then no other talking. It's just, have a great day. We hang up. See that, and he can do the same for me. And we will drop things to get on a call with each other, because we know if we bottle it up and we hold it, it's just going to fester. And then it's going to manifest in all other areas of our life. And then another thing that I would tell people, the third thing, is make sure you have great coaches and mentors in your life.
Yes. Hashtag vent buddy.
I love that.
I love that. And
love
to
that.
my vent buddy, you know who you are. I love you, man.
And so I actually have a formula I call my 3-2-1 rich. And let me be clear, when I'm talking about rich, I'm talking rich in all areas of your life. Health, wealth, relationships, money, all areas. Mental, emotional, spiritual, physical, and financial. Have 3 great coaches in your life. And you've got to be willing to pay for your coaches, whether by money or some way, other currency, right? Exchange of value. Because if you're not invested, you're not invested. Plain and simple.
Correct.
Okay. So have 3 coaches in your life. Have 2 mentors. Now, the difference between a coach and a mentor, a coach will draw out of you, ask the questions. What is it you want? Hold you accountable. A mentor is someone who's accomplished what you want to accomplish. And they're not there to coach you. They're to say, if you want to get where I am, do this, do this, do this, do this. And don't call me again until you've done it. Like for me, because I've been blessed to train thousands of trainers, one of the biggest things that people don't do is the practice. The ugly, behind the scenes, mundane, boring crap that they have to do if they want to be good. And so I'll sit there and I'll say, go ahead.
I want to interrupt, because last week I just launched my new book, and it is How to Go from 6-Figure Coach to 7-Figure and Beyond Mentor. And the difference that he just talked about, the difference between coaching and mentoring, that is specifically in the book. That's why I smiled so big. I was like, nice. Oh God, he's just right on it. I should, this is so good.
Well, you
and
can
I
pay
didn't
me
want to
later for
interrupt that
endorsing.
because it was a shameless plug. Robin, can you put my book in there as well? The link to that book, so they have that, because mentoring is important. And what he just said is the thing. If you don't do it, then don't even come back here. Yeah,
that's right.
Get it.
And people pay me big money, and they know
that's
that
right.
When they pay upfront for a year-long mentoring with me,
you got it.
They can talk to me weekly if they're doing the work. But if they're not doing the work, I've had some of my mentoring students go months between calls because I don't have the time to coddle them. It's like, if you're going to pay me big bucks, then you need to do what I'm asking you to do. And when I get mentored, because I still have mentors in my life, as long as it's legal, ethical, and moral, I'm doing what they tell me to do. Plain and simple.
Did you prep him? I swear to God, I did not prep him before this call. He did this of his own volition because he's a smart man. Thank you.
You got 20 minutes to quit saying that. Come on. And then the one of the formula is be part of at least one mastermind.
Yeah.
Be part of it, because quit trying to do it on your own.
Amen.
Get that group of growth-minded people And I
Mhm.
love masterminds. And if you have 3 coaches, 2
Me
mentors, and
too.
1 mastermind, you're going to be rich in all areas of your life.
Absolutely. Did you
Yeah.
hear that? We are cutting this snippet part out. This is just, that was just, if you have those mentors, you have those things in place. You know, it's so interesting what you're saying, because a lot of people believe that they want to get a cup and they have this jug of water and they want to pour a little water into the cup and hope that it transforms. And you need to take the cup and put it inside the jug of water and just let it sink to the bottom until it transforms. This is so key for the human dynamics of changing. And there's a difference between change and transformation. Transformation is something that you decide on. Change doesn't necessarily mean it's something you
Right.
decide on. It can happen just like that. But in a transformation process, if you're listening right now and you're thinking, man, this Robert dude, he's got it going on. I want what he's got. I want these experiences. I want quality of life. What he just said is the most important piece of it. What he just said, if you, the 3 things you really want to do, you definitely want to put yourself in a transformation container. And in order to have that transformation container, having those mentors in place, having that mastermind, making yourself have skin in the game. Those who pay attention. That is the most important thing. If you're looking right now and you're thinking, well, next year I'm going to be this, that, and the other, you want to have that container, that transformation container right there. I
Yes.
just, God, I'm so loving what you're saying. And if, I want to give him a copy of, just send him a copy of the Freedom Seeker's Way, that 7-figure mentor book, because he's
Thank
so
you.
there with it, and it's a quick read, but it was so perfectly what you just said, so perfectly how you define that, holding that container. So I got a couple of things I got to know. What if people say, I want more contact with him? I want to find out more about what's this dude about. Oh, where can they connect with you? What can they do to get on your list or do the thing
Yeah.
you do?
Well, first of all, the book. Just go download it, do it. That'll help put you on my list. But here's what I want you. If you really want to work with me, because I'm transforming into a new arena here, Vicky. I because my
We're
audiences are
transforming
usually.
into the same arena.
That's right. I'm,
I
I'm going from
love it.
100 to thousands of students at a time, 3 to 5 intensive days where I'm on with thousands. I'm now going into coaching and mentoring myself, where
Mhm.
I'm looking to bring people on that want to work with me, where I can take them by the hand and say, if you're ready to do the work, I'm here to show you how I've done
And
over $100 million in sales from the stage in the last 18 years. If you want to transform lives and add value, you want to know how to grow into your greatness, they can work with me. And I would say go either to my fan page on Facebook, go to my LinkedIn or my Instagram. My assistant now tells me I have those, and send me a direct message. And it'll be me that responds to you. Because look, I love to connect with people. And if you have a passion that you want to get to work and help a lot more people and transform your life while you're transforming theirs, then I can assist with that. And I'd love to have a conversation around that.
mm. Robert, I got to tell you something, and I just want to be as authentic as I can be. My heart right now is so full. It's so full. And the reason it's full is because I feel like that you have shared so much love and so much insight with everyone here in just such a fun way. That's just how I feel. I feel so full. And yes, he is speaking our language. That's correct. And it's interesting because yeah, I feel like I just bumped into you again from, like, I don't know, 15 years ago or something. And
When I
it
had
has
hair.
been hair. Listen, I see you guys out there. Do me a favor, go get his book. Robin, put his link in one more time, so that his web address, not the Amazon link, so that people can be there. If you're listening on iHeartRadio, Apple, whatever, in the show notes today, you'll find a link to Robert's free book that he's given to us out of love. And you are to take action on it. It's not shelf
Yes.
help. We are definitely going to be transforming lives. Now, here, transform lives. You're in a complete alignment with what we do. Yes, he is. And so today, during the coffee break show, I'm going to make an invitation to you right now. I'm going to invite you to know that you can empower yourself to actually have the quality of life that you vision or you dream here. The start of that is to read and get your hands on Robert's book. It is uh, on his site, robertriopel.com. It's in the show notes. Download it, take an action, and know that the best years are ahead of you right now.
Yes.
The best years are ahead of you. Create that quality of life. I just want to say thank you for being on the Coffee Break Show today. It was so fun. It was as fun as I imagined. And part of me wants to say, hey, do we have another hour so we could just keep talking? But again, we come to the end of the show today. And I just want to say thank you for being here, my friend. That was so
Oh,
awesome.
my pleasure. And reconnections, I love reconnections. And
Me
as you
too.
and I were talking, one of the greatest things of that I'm grateful for with coronavirus is the connections I've been able to make, because it slowed me down enough to be able to connect with people and truly have that. And I'd love to stay connected. You invite me back for anything, I'm there in a heartbeat. But more
Good.
importantly, I just want to stay
You heard
connected.
him.
Yeah.
I got it on tape.
See, that's giving our age away. You got it on tape? Oh
Oh,
my
that's
goodness.
true. Shh.
Yeah, don't do the math of how old we are. But in all seriousness, is surrounding you are a growth-minded person that I would
Mhm.
love to be able to collaborate with. Let's
I
create stuff to help more
Let's
people.
do it. All right. There's only one thing left, you guys, and I know you know. It's time. It's time to listen to the music. I'll see you next Wednesday.